Hey everyone, it's Alysa here, and this is a special bonus episode of Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits. So for my patrons, I do frequently bonus episodes on Patreon called Alysa Watches TV. And in that, I either do it by myself or I have a friend who we talk about the TV that we're watching. And so today, talking about the greatest movie ever made. And it is probably, not only that, it is the greatest Halloween movie ever made.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
okay.
And that is the movie Teen Witch. And my friend Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Sarah's here. We're going to talk a little bit about the greatest movie ever made by Blake Lively's sister Robin,
yes,
who stars.
Who's 17 years older.
Yes. And so this was new information for me. But that's the thing is there's lots of questions. You can learn lots of information about the show, about the movie. So we're going to talk a little bit about the movie, and then we're going to go into our 10 most burning questions about the greatest movie ever made.
That's right.
Let's do it. Okay. Well, first off, Sarah, can I ask you this? How would you describe Teen Witch to someone if they asked you, hey, what you watching there? What's that about?
Oh, boy. I think I would call it like raucous romp through the 1980s, kind of teenage girl dream of what it would be to have control.
Yeah. Control, like Janet Jackson. Yes. Okay. So my description of it after watching it for the millionth time in preparation for this episode is, did 12-year-old Alysa write this? Because 12-year-old Alysa had crushes on boys, and then only things that ever really happened were in my dreams and never in real life, and I was a big dork in real life and had perms and crap.
Did I shadow write this? What's happening? Did I black out? Oh, what?
Is this the only good thing that came from my perm?
That's where it held all the writing magic.
Yeah,
it was all in the solution, the perm solution. And
all the secrets are in the curls. Yeah, so it really made me think about how some girls might have this fantasy of maybe being popular or cool and getting the popular boy and maybe being the popular girl. And especially after reading Sweet Valley Highs and stuff like that, you know, that's where I was in the 80s. Now they got good young adult books about actual things.
Right. Yeah, not so in the 80s. It was kind of a free-for-all, a moral free-for-all. This is also the decade that gave us Greed is Good. So, you know, it's just, there's a lot to unpack with the 80s.
Yeah, the 80s were something else. And so that's how I was feeling. I was like, this movie is a girl's fantasy, essentially, not every girl's fantasy, but that then when she discovers that she has magic, then she can make all these things happen in life. But in real life, it wouldn't happen unless she was a descendant to a witch.
Which could be, we don't know, could be possible, but unlikely. Yeah,
so basically, most of our fantasies at 12 are not going to happen unless we have magic.
Pretty much.
And then Harry Potter came out, and then it's like, yeah, well, then it's real magic, and I just need a wand. Hello.
Oh, I never got my letter to Hogwarts.
That's rude. I didn't either.
I know.
I was also in college, but it's fine. I could have gone to Hogwarts graduate school.
It's got to be there. I mean, like, yeah. An advanced degree?
Advanced degree in magic? Are you kidding me? That's amazing. So this is what IMDb, so we just discussed what we would describe it. Here's what IMDb says. High school misfit Louise, played by Robin Lively, Blake Lively's half-sister, at a loss for romance, discovers magical abilities, but the teenage witch finds that she cannot conjure herself true love. So what?
Oh, no.
What? But then Rotten Tomatoes, which I didn't write down the percentage, but it was not high. But again, greatest movie ever made. Says high school nerd, which I think is more accurate than misfit, Louise Miller learns from psychic Madame Serena that she's possessed with magical abilities that will begin working on her 16th birthday.
Is she really possessed, though, or is she in possession of?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't write this.
Is that the same thing? Let's email that person immediately.
Can we get some assistance here on the RT, on the Rotten Tomatoes?
Can we flag on the play here? What are you really trying to say?
Or I could have read it wrong too. I mean, human error.
I would also love, side note, timeout. I would love to hear listeners' bad description of this movie. Or like poorly describe a movie.
Yes.
Like Lord of the Rings, they're just
Walking
looking for jewelry. And so I would love to hear listeners, and if they have, if they can describe it poorly.
And don't act like y'all never saw it unless you're literally in your early 20s. Everyone else saw it.
I mean, it's on TV.
It's on
everybody.
TV all the time, which is why it became a cult classic.
Mm-hmm.
But Rotten Tomatoes continues hopefully in correct grammar and sentence structure.
Mm-hmm.
When the prophecy proves true, the teenager uses her new powers to get what she always desired, popularity, which also means a lot of tutu outfits. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
After getting back at some bullies, the young witch casts a spell over hunky jock Brad Powell. But Louise soon learns that getting what you want isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Or maybe it is. You just don't have to get it through such surreptitious means.
Yes. Whoa. Hey, maybe you should be writing for Rotten Tomatoes.
Get your shit together, Rotten Tomatoes. Jeez.
So, pitches a female version of Teen Wolf, and I'm going to need a fact check on this next fact, and I'm using air quotes because it is Wikipedia, but it says it cost $2.5 million to make.
That was all spent on gel and denim. And tutus.
And cultural appropriation.
And derelict buildings, which is where you want to make out.
But my favorite part of the Wikipedia entry is from Jarrett Wieselman, or Wieselman, whatever his pronunciation is, of the New York Post, stated, quote, "There are good movies, there are bad movies, there are movies that are so bad they're good, and then there's Teen Witch, a cult classic that defies classification thanks to a curious combination of songs, spells, and skin," end quote. So, basically what that leads us to is you have an idea of what this movie is about, or you're finishing our sentences because you have seen it as many times as Sarah and I have.
Correct. Yeah.
But what this leads to is our 10 burning questions about Teen Witch. So Sarah, would you like to begin with one of your burning questions?
Well, Alysa, did you want to talk about maybe the friendships first and then do the burning questions?
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, we will talk about the Well, that could be a question though, like what's up with the friendship?
Sure.
I'll cut this out. It's fine.
Yeah.
So
your call. What do you want to do? It felt like we could talk about like the because we're probably going to be giggly.
Okay,
and
what about we'll do it as the first question. So I'll run it back and be like, I'll start with the first question.
Can I ask you the question about friendships?
Yes.
Because I feel like
okay.
about that. So
that leads us to burning questions about Teen Witch. And so Sarah, why don't you ask the first question?
I got some burning questions, and I would like you, Alysa, to talk about friendship.
Yes, because
friendship
this is Best Forever's, a podcast for kindred spirits.
That's right. So let's break down those friendships.
Yes. So here's the thing about Louise's fantasy versus real life. Well, in her fantasies, apparently it's only Brad. Kind of there. It's very much the 80s. You have to be focused on relationships. But if she wants popularity, that's also going to be like the girls want to be her type thing. But in real life, she has a best friend, Polly. And Polly is pretty cool. I like her. We're going to talk more about her a little bit later because there's some very important parts of her wardrobe and her abilities that will be key to this movie.
Need to be addressed.
They need to be addressed.
Discussed.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So one of the things is like they're kind of like the nerds or the losers or the misfits that kind of stick out from everyone else from this 80s orgy of denim and tutu. And like I just feel that like Polly is that friend that's they probably been friends since kindergarten and first grade. The first time they met, they instantly became best friends, super loyal to each other, both have crushes on boys, but never really seems to make it happen, right? And I think it's a really important friendship, but I think she's yearning for more, not just Brad. I think she's yearning for a more complete social life, and I don't think her parents help.
No.
They dress Louise like, how would you
From the young miss section.
of the Amish version of what?
Lord and Taylor, maybe?
J.C. Penney / Kmart. It is the 80s.
Yeah.
So like a turquoise sweater vest that has hot pink stripes with a button-down shirt underneath, but then an olive, I can't quite
ankle length olive.
What's the fabric though?
Oh, it looks like a real stiff cotton. It looks like a real stiff, and once you get a wrinkle in that, it's not coming out.
It's never coming out. So it's like
not.
and then loafers with socks.
Yeah, and part of me is like, okay, you maybe don't control what you wear.
Yes.
But you can control how you wear it, and let's just maybe stay off the socks and loafers. Like, maybe let's pick one or the other.
Yes. And so basically what I think, and not to necessarily make fun, but also to make fun because this is the 80s and it's 2021, right? But the idea is like, they're not helping with like her, like just this idea of like, not everyone has to fit in, not everyone wants that, but there is some level of basic social like interaction and that sort of thing. And so she wants different clothes. She wants more friends. She wants Brad.
Well, and did you catch the part where, you know, her mom is just this like beauty?
Yeah.
And so kind of trying to live up to those standards as well. And so helpful when the dad's like, she wasn't always like this. And yet the picture he showed, I was like, she's fine. She's fine. She's in a black outfit.
Yeah. What?
And she hadn't dyed her hair yet.
And it wasn't permed like mine was in the 80s.
That's right.
Yeah.
So again, maybe these kind of ideals about, because they also mention it as well of, you know, at the very beginning and Shayna, whoever.
Something. Yeah. Very
you know,
80s is probably Shanda. No, that's the pop star. I think it's Randa.
Okay, sure. Randa. I think actually Randa is like the other friend because there's Kiki.
There's 3 friends,
Randa.
and then there's also a pop star that gives her a jean jacket. So there is some confusion over the 80s names. You continue making your point. I'll look it up.
So, and they're talking about it and just basically commenting on like, oh, how do you get that? And her look, I'm assuming her body.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, genetics, you know, but that kind of idolization of what seems on the outside to be that perfect girl.
Yeah.
And so also maybe
kind of awful.
Yeah, she's kind of a bit of the
So there was Randa, Sean, Shayna, she was the pop star, and then Kiki. So it's Randa.
So who's the other one?
Sean.
Sean?
Yeah. Okay. That's her name. That's what it says. And she was also in Can't Buy Me Love as one of the friends too. So she's a classic 80s friend. But the idea is, I think like Polly's always been like this loyal, good friend. And that this happens where people change and like, you know, Louise wants more. But then when she gets it through the magic and she becomes popular, it's almost as if Polly doesn't exist anymore. And Polly has every reason to be upset. She does try once to like sit next to her and then like
lunch.
50 girls come and like knock her off, you know, the table and stuff. And so it's like, hey, if your life changes, don't forget about the people who've been there the entire time. So, but in addition to that, I think that Louise really has to find relationships in other ways. And she becomes friends with the costume designer or the teacher of theater. It's not quite sure, like, is this volunteer? Like,
and we gotta, again, a little TO on that. It makes it seem like I do a lot of sports. I don't, but time out.
Yeah, you're talking about flags on the play and stuff, like you've watched the game.
I got some colleagues that are really into sports. So, okay, at the final scene, there are, I almost paused it and counted, like 30 people in that gym. Okay, that's fine. Small schools, I get it. Whatever. So coming from a smaller school, you don't have a dedicated professional costume person. That is the theater teacher.
Yeah,
and that person does everything.
Everything.
And so they also do not just be like, here's your acting role, here's your acting role, and here's random person over there, your one tech role. And I'm just not going to list any of the other tech roles. You
I
just
thought
figure
the
it out.
classic thing was to list the roles like on a sheet of
Yes.
paper and people can go find it out.
Yes.
Yeah,
that
so
was.
poor Louise was rocking her Odine or whatever her role was, and she became, third mistress to the costumer?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
like,
I mean, immediately.
yeah.
Like, they probably were just like, she can just stop now.
Yeah.
We don't even.
Yeah, and then she's harassed by another teacher, so she has like all this stuff going on, and then she meets a new friend after there's an accident, and she's riding her bike home from not getting the part, and Brad kind of runs her off the road, but she doesn't want any help from him, and he drives away. You know, he doesn't want, he wants to help her, right? Like, because he's a quasi good person, it seems like. And then her chain breaks and it rains. It's like the whole thing, like everything happens. And then she goes to a house and she meets Madame Serena.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes, who is a psychic who discovers that Louise is a descendant of witches and she will get all of her powers on her 16th birthday. But wait, when does she get those powers? Next week. Good timing.
That's right.
So the thing about friendships here is that she wants things in her life, but it feels like she's put down a lot or doesn't feel like she can step up for things. And she kind of does Polly dirty. She does really good by her mentor and her teacher. And I think that this movie would be better if there was more friendship, first off. Whatever, Brad, he's not going to last. Polly will be there forever. I bet they're still friends, Robin Lively and Mandy Ingber. I bet they're still friends.
Christmas card list, at least.
At least. So, I mean, that's, I think, important is to consider, like, that, you know, when people want things and they're changing, that we don't want to be friend droppers, and that friendship can be a lot of different things. Like, it can be mentors and other things of that nature. So,
well, and sometimes hard to negotiate when you're growing and evolving as a person, and then friends are growing and evolving as a person, and then your friendship is trying to grow and evolve as you do. That's a lot to try and manage when you're 15 years old, which she is for the kind of first part of the movie.
Yeah.
And that can be really hard. And I think this is a good example of you don't know what you have until it's gone. Of that kind of steady, true, you know, that phone call of Randa's having a party same time. Like, she knew that was going to be difficult for Louise to manage and tried to get ahead of it, you know, so.
Who plans a party on the day of Girls' Sweet 16 party and mom's like, didn't you mail out invitations? Well, maybe she shouldn't be inviting everyone in the school, and maybe you should consider the fact that her turquoise pink button-down olive stiff cotton outfit doesn't help, right? And
well, I mean,
that
there's 30 people that go to that school. So, I mean, that's not a big ask.
And 28 of them were at Randa's house.
That's right. I mean, that's a very large cake. I bet if they cut it not Ina Garden style cutting. I don't know if you know. This is a total side note, if I may digress for a moment.
Yes, please do.
Ina Garden, on an episode, made a giant Texas-like size sheet cake.
Yes. And
the portion size she cut of that whole big pan, I think, could feed 6. Like, it was a gigantic slice, and she was just freewheeling it, and the kids were banana sandwich. They were thrilled.
I would have been like, I'm glad there aren't other people here so that I can have as much cake, and then I can have leftover cake, and then I can have, like, put it in the freezer, pull it out, and defrost it, and have more cake.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered the most serious and important question to the podcast. Now we have questions.
I got a lot of questions.
As friends, we're on the same wavelength. And watching and loving this movie, like Sarah owns it, and I'm wondering why I don't. I mean, I got The Legend of Billie Jean. I got like some real cult classics, and the person who usually buys me those movies is my brother Michael. So I'm gonna get on the horn with him and be like, "So why'd you never buy me Teen Witch?"
A very strongly worded text.
Yes. Oh, that's coming. Absolutely. So what is your first burning question that you have? Because my main one is like friendship, but then I also got some other burning questions, and you got some burning questions.
I've been writing some burning questions down as we've been talking as well.
You've tuned into a 5-part series on the cult classic Teen Witch.
Sarah's got a lot of questions, y'all. Okay, first and foremost, so movie opens on some very sultry saxophone music. very sultry. And I was like, well, very quintessential 80s. And I'm like, wait a minute, isn't she only like 15 or 16 in this movie?
Yeah.
And yes, she is. And I'm not a prude, but that feels like a little sultry for like 15-year-old. And then she's like on this like balcony stepping
about
backwards.
to fall off.
And then she's like, trust fall. And like she's gonna jump in. Why? What?
Okay, well, first off, Sarah, she is performing in her dreams at night what her music videos would look like if she was a pop star.
That's 100% it.
That's basically what's happening, okay? And so you got Brad in there, and he's doing a little jig, and they're about
is
to fall.
Is it Brad, or is it someone else?
It's like supposed to be Brad, but like it's like the fantasy thing. And she's wearing very much the outfits we'll see when she becomes popular, so she's already envisioning what she would be when she becomes magical, even though she doesn't know it yet. But additionally, kids always want to be older than they are. When I was in middle school, my parents probably aren't listening to this. It's fine. They're not going to listen. My dad's not going to be like, the episode of Best Forevers I want to listen to? Teen Witch.
I don't know. Nancy really likes me. We're Facebook friends.
Yeah, she's going to be like, oh, Sarah's on an episode. Let me get on that.
We're Facebook friends.
Well, when I was in middle school, I remember having this single tape. Yes, those of you who are younger than I am by probably 2 decades, we used to have cassette tapes. And when you wanted one song, you would pay $2.99 for that. And then another track on the other side.
A B-side.
A B-side. And I had I Want to Sex You Up by Color Me Bad, like in 6th or 7th. I want to sex you up. Okay, so I had that, and I listened to it on the lowest possible volume that I could still hear the song because I was so afraid my parents would be like, what are you listening to? But that was like 6th grade. So like, you know what? That was the 90s. So we don't got the sultry saxophone. We got the inappropriate where you're like, yes, kind of boy bandish, although not really because they're grown. But
yeah, Paula Abdul's Cold Hearted Slave. That music video really was like, oh my.
Yes. Clutch My Pearls.
I know, Clutch My Pearls. And my 12-year-old Sarah was like, what?
And I was all trying to recreate the dance moves watching MTV after school. But I'm also a few years older, so maybe. Yes. But I do think, yes, it's a little questionable, but it also reflects on that I want to be a little bit older. So maybe, I read a magazine article when I was younger, probably at the hair place getting a perm. And I think it was Rolling Stone, and it was about New Kids on the Block.
Oh, so my favorite growing up.
Your favorite was Joey, right?
No.
What is wrong with you?
Jordan.
Oh, okay, that's acceptable. I was a Joey McIntyre girl, which is funny because I also am doing a bonus Alysa Watches TV for fatalities, and I also talk about Joey McIntyre.
I had a Danny doll. And when I lost, my parents, whatever, got me the Danny doll, and I lost all of his clothes, and the only ones that would fit were the Cinderella fairy godmother clothes. So he's in a box somewhere in my parents' barn. Very, just tip of the spear, dressing, living his best life, you know, just
fabulous. Well, so this article, again, I was younger and I was reading it like no one know what I'm reading, but it talked about how like tween girls with boy bands, that's like the first time you think about SEX. And she was 16. So like in her dreams, I think the sultry saxophone is on point, but I'm not a developmental psychologist or anything of that nature. But that's my answer to your question.
Okay. Some of these, I'll just be honest, probably don't have answers.
They're just what?
Yeah, they're more declarative statements, kind of like the, Seth Meyers, Amy Poehler, really, segment that they had, like, really?
Yeah.
So here's another one.
Yes, let's get into it.
Can we talk about the coats in this movie? Because Polly's coat, 1, how did it not drag on the ground when she was bicycling? And 2, that's the size and build of a coat that 3 to 10 ducks will wear stacked on top of each other to get into movie theaters, restaurants, whatever. And then Louise, again, just this gigantic coat. And I'm like, are you in there? Are you drowning? What's happening?
It's like Snoopy's house on Peanuts when you look on the outside. Like, it's like when you go inside, it's like a mansion.
Yes, wearing these.
I live in here.
They're wearing these really big, heavy trench coats, and no one else is wearing a coat.
Yeah, and like a couple scenes later, they're in like tennis outfits. What is the weather? Like, Louise, when you got your witchy powers, were you just like, whatever weather I want, I'm gonna just make it happen?
Is this a medical condition? Like, why are you always in, and again, layered under numerous pieces of clothes that was bought in the Teen Miss section, like, just these coats. And then she has these really clunky shoes she got somewhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I think they were really going hard on like, these girls are not popular. And it's almost like the opposite of like She's All That, where they just take off her glasses and like, shake out her hair. And then it's like, oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. We just have to throw on as much pounds of fabric as we can to be like, losers. Or maybe they were truly like, what are we sneaking into the movie theater?
Maybe. Again, that's where they kept all their secrets.
Yeah, mine were it was in the perm. Yeah. Theirs were in their
shoulder pads and that wool coat that they wore in all year round.
Well, now, there was a fad perhaps in the 80s because in Adventures in Babysitting, Elizabeth Shue has that jacket, and like the kid that has a crush on her is like, this is a great jacket. Oh, it's my grandpa's jacket. Grandpa has great taste. He's dead. Then he like throws the jacket like, ah!
Whoa.
But hers was like more fashionable than theirs.
Maybe appropriate, because doesn't that take place at night? Like in Chicago, maybe? It's been a long time.
It's a windy city.
It's been a long time.
It's a windy city. And there's some level of thinking that this is in California because of the outdoor school cafeteria.
And the like drive through the woods to where, again, if she was alive in 2021, we'd be like, is this where I go to get murdered? And we'll get to that derelict house a little bit later.
In the 80s, it was just like, whoever comes to your door, are you here to murder me? Cool.
Hey, who are you?
Stab. Wait, what's in the back of your van? Candy and puppies.
I'm in.
Yeah, the coats in this were, besides the rest of the clothes, were ridiculous. So that is a question that you are likely to also have when you watch the movie, or you know if you know.
Yeah. And I gotta be honest, as someone who does not like coats, I just kept wanting to like take that coat off and set it down. Like, it just really bothered me. And then again, it made her like, like, how'd you get through doorways? That's so bulky. I wasn't feeling it.
I mean, it's definitely like a bunch of kids trying to like get into an R-rated movie for sure. I like the 3 to 10 duck though.
I mean, it just depends.
It just depends how many ducks you got. So.
Alysa, do you have a question?
Yes, since we're in the clothing part of our burning questions, can we talk about all the tutus? Because here's the thing about all the tutus in this movie. It came out in 89. I was 11. So I liked the outfit she wore when she became like popular, Louise. Again, did I write this? So I said 12-year-old Alysa. Excuse me, it was 11-year-old Alysa.
Calm
down, right? But there were so many tutus that went over dresses, that extended out of denim, like
tutu on top of tutus.
There were so many tutus, and I was like, the only time I may have worn a tutu was in ballet class, and not in class. It was for a recital.
Yes, same.
And I feel like I have been cheated out of my time to wear tutus.
Yes.
Because I'm not Betsy Johnson, and I feel like that's the one person who can really pull off tutu over the age of 20.
Well, and if you think about the 80s, I don't think many of us lived that movie lifestyle. So, I was not quite 11, but tutus just weren't at JCPenney's. They weren't at Sears.
Disappointing.
It wasn't something that was in my world, and there was no internet. You weren't just, Googling that to see where you could get a tutu.
It's not like Insta, all the influencers are really making us want to wear tutus.
You know where I think tutus got reinvented, though? Yeah. Those big puffy tulle skirts. Or toile, or I don't know, I call it tulle.
Yeah, I call it tulle. Well.
So
not that I use that word often.
Yes, toile or tulle. But I think that's kind of how it got repurposed, and that kind of reliving your youth thing of like, I'm going to put heaps of toile on me
Yeah.
and see what happens.
And then put a dress over it and let's have a day of it.
Or that's just the skirt.
That's just it.
That's just the skirt.
I just feel like, I mean, I already have my Halloween costume for this year. And I sound really disappointed about it. But I feel like one day I should be like nerdy Louise and then turn into like Louise who thinks it's cool.
And half. Yeah.
Oh my God, the one bulky side of a coat and then a tutu coming out the other side.
Yes. I hope you have lots of extra money because there's many layers that you're going to have to put. And so, because even if you were able to secure a tutu, you still have the whole rest of that ensemble to try and pull together.
Which is, as you mentioned, and I don't know if this was a whole nother question, but so much denim in this movie.
So it is. Okay, so
let's get into a follow-up question.
Again, still on the clothing vein. So she becomes the most popular girl in the world.
Yes, she does.
And she's having what is a totally underrated montage sequence. I just love their montages.
Add a question to the list. We need to talk about all the montages.
Writing it down. Writing it down.
Yeah.
So kind of overnight becomes the most popular girl in the world.
Literally overnight.
And then somehow magically has the wardrobe to go with it.
It's called magic, Sarah.
Yeah, okay. I don't know where she got that. She suddenly knows how to style her hair.
Yes.
She suddenly knows how to put on 80s makeup. Like, she suddenly knows how to do these things.
Because she did a spell and became popular, and that's what it means to be popular, apparently. And the 80 and 89 is to have the clothes, to have the makeup, to have the nice hair. Mm-hmm. And even like when I was like, I don't know if that hair works for you. It's a half upside pony and with the scrunchie. And I was like, damn, if there's nothing more 80s than that.
There's a really small detail people might miss, but she's sewing in home economics where they also learn about sex education. And she's
condom.
And so she's got this, for her half pony, she's got this little plastic kind of like pyramid kind of domish thing. And boy, that brought back some like deep memories. Because spoiler, I'm the youngest in my family by 10 and 12 years respectively. So I was always kind of niffling in my sister's stuff. And, trying to emulate them. And so that kind of tapped into a memory.
Well, it just reminds me of, like, she also had, like, some of the bangs, but the bangs, I guess, going into the 90s. I mean, in the 90s, I tried to do my bangs, but, I mean, I had also a perm, so maybe I shouldn't be touching my hair at all.
Yeah, no. Now we know.
Not at all.
My sister's never going to listen to this, so I feel really comfortable saying that she used to tease her bangs so big, and I know you all can't see me, but I'm putting my hand on my forehead to show you how tall those bangs were.
It's a hands tall.
It's a
one hand tall. It's not finger tall. It's a full.
It's a hand
full
tall. Hand. Or if we use the duck ratio, it's maybe a full leg or wing height. Yeah.
I think if people know 80s bangs, they know what's up.
Yeah, they're picking up what I'm throwing down.
Yes. And like that wasn't quite the look, but the side half up pony-ish with their hair down and lots of scrunchies, because when she became the popular girl, everyone started wearing that scrunchy side look, and then it was like, what?
And speaking of when she becomes really popular, this is just going to be stream of consciousness questions, everybody.
Yeah, let's do it.
So she's around high school, and people have made signs about her and have hung it up.
She has crowds of people
out on her lawn, like, always. And like no one says anything.
It's like the girls who are waiting to see New Kids on the Block outside their hotel.
Yes.
And it's like, Joey! Joey over here!
Her parents are fine with it.
Like,
no one
outside
says
her house.
a thing. But then they're gone when she comes back. And but like there's hand-painted signs.
They say Louise
Miller. Like, she's just, her signs everywhere. And I was like, I never once ever have seen a popular person's name just written on a sign and up in the hallway.
Unless they're running for class president.
Right.
And the only other time I see someone's name on a sign, maybe now or in the last decade, would be promposals, those kinds of things. But no, she's like, eating lunch and people are just like, they got signs, or like she's walking around and they have signs and they're dancing. They're following her around.
Yeah.
Like she's just walking normal. Well, she kind of has a pep in her
She's
step.
got a little bit of a swagger.
Yeah. And then, but she at first enjoys it. Like she does little spins and she's like playing with her hair while all these people are like, I don't know.
Again, great montage. I mean, you're really right there. And I would
because without the music.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
She looks ridiculous.
Well, it also might be an episode of Fatalities. We got some stalkers in the house.
Yes. Yes. Can we take a minute to envision what a teen witch inspired promposal would look like?
It wouldn't look like anything except that immediately she's going to be going to prom with Brad because she's a witch and she can make the spell or whatever.
But I mean, like modern day, if you really liked it, you could dress up as Brad and you'd be like, "You're my most popular girl."
Louise Miller with the sign.
And she was like, "That's not my name."
What if, like, I guess if a witch was doing a promposal, it might be some sort of chanting.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's just showing off what she can do, like getting the carousel to move, or like the rain to come down and make one of those romantic scenes in movies where they meet in the rain and they have a kiss.
Well, not her proposing for prom, like modern day people trying to get other people to go with them to prom, but it's just themed teen witch.
Oh, gotcha.
Not as exciting, huh?
No, I was like coming down with like specific details.
Yeah, you were.
Hey, if you're looking for a promposal, I got some teen witch ideas for you.
She does.
Email me at friendswithalysa@gmail.com.
Just watch that montage and just mimic it. We have yet another clothing related question.
Oh my God. How many do we have on here?
I mean, this is half the list. So she goes to the dance dressed in her frumpy, like weirdly bright top, camo, olive green, stiff cotton skirt, but somehow shoved into her purse. She's got a tutu, and she's got like hair accessories,
music.
Makeup. She's got it all.
Music and then makeup.
Yeah, she's got it all shoved in there. And so then she changes and has her like totally cool guess who moment.
Totally radical.
And then they leave. And where's that bag of clothes? And then follow-up question, did she change before she went back into the house?
Because her parents aren't going to be like, we did not buy you at the Little Miss shop. That was very expensive. We didn't buy you that
sweater vest we bought you for your birthday mere days ago. And so I get really alarmed. Like internally, it kind of takes me out of movies when I'm just like, oh, I forgot that thing.
There's a hole in the plot.
I know, yes.
It reminds me, have you seen that meme of The Rock with that giant bag, like just huge bag, and then people will put on there like how many pictures I have of my dog on my phone, and it's just like huge. That, I will send it to you. I will post it on Instagram for our friends listening. But that's the bag that she would have had to put it in. It's like bigger than The Rock.
Yes. Gigantic.
And he's huge.
Layers of tutu just shoved in this purse.
No, it's going to be that stiff cotton with the...
Oh my, I didn't even think about it the other way.
If she had the jacket...
Oh,
she had the jacket with her. It's impossible. That's
impossible.
That's like people who have like 5-piece suitcases going to Europe for 5 months. Like
I literally didn't even think about it the other way of shoving all of the loafers and like that.
Because she was wearing that outfit, but now she's wearing the totally radical outfit.
Oh my
gosh. Where do you?
Just more questions. That's weird.
Here's where I would put it. She went and changed in the bathroom, and the janitor or the custodian, whoever might cleaning operations, is going to find some very bulky clothes in the trash can the next day.
Or she could have put it in her locker.
Oh.
I mean,
but how's she getting back in the house?
I mean, again, good questions.
And she has the worst brother on earth. He's just gross and creepy and weirdly into food and has a weird voice and just, So she can't sneak in the house without him getting her into trouble.
Well, I think she had already turned him into a dog by that point.
Yeah,
so I think she could probably just be like, arf, arf, and he might be like, all right. So
yeah, that was a good moment. That was a good moment.
All right, Alysa, I think that might be all of our
clothing related. So where
questions.
Should we go next? Do we go to like cultural appropriation? Do we go to
It's your turn. It's your turn. Figure out where we're going next.
My burning question is, So what's up with that cultural appropriation?
Tell our listeners more.
So if you know anything about this movie, even just a snippet, then you know the best part of the entire movie, which is one of the greatest songs ever written.
Top that.
Stop that. I don't give a about trying to top that. Okay. So basically
some shoulder shimmy action.
So there is a kid at school. His name is Rhett, Rhet, for those of you who are like, what are you saying? And he's like cool. And this is the guy that Polly kind of thinks is cool. But Louise laughs. Like, you like Rhett? He's not my type. He's not the broken down Tom Cruise I'm into.
He's not I almost said geriatric 80s hunk. Generic 80s hunk. Who's probably geriatric.
Where do you think she got the jacket from?
Yes. Yes.
So
boyfriend's closet.
So I think like what you have in the 80s is like at this point there's already rap that exists and rap and hip hop is from black artists and they needed a little something in here. And don't forget Jarrett from New York Post who said it's a curious combination of song, spells, and skin because there are some great songs in there, but then there's several raps from Rhett. And there's like the, you know, where they put the arms around each other, like it's the New Kids on the Block, like you got it, the right stuff. But that was less cultural appropriation than like maybe Run DMC. But it's really like these three white kids doing all this stuff, but it's not quite rap. It's kind of like spoken word, which is still with our black culture.
Like slam poetry, just to a beat. Like, it's not good.
But if you want something that's so bad it's good, then it is completely worth the time in which to watch the videos of Rhett, specifically Top That. So we see this throughout, like, you know, envision the opening of the school and she's going to school in her giant geriatric boyfriend's jacket, right? And like you see all the popular kids and stuff, and then you see Rhett like dancing in the hallway and like
with his two friends. And again, definitely sounds like they're mic'd. I don't think auto-tune existed then. But I was like, did they like? Oh, there's just a boombox. Like I thought they might have had an amp. Like
yeah, like it's like, are you lip syncing or like is this like?
Right. And yeah, what are you doing? How much time do you have between classes? This is an ongoing.
This is a 4-song performance in the 5 minutes it takes to get your ass across
What time
campus.
Are you getting to school in the morning?
I'm getting there at least an hour early so I can set up with my boombox. I can practice some of the steps, get the other people in there to make sure we got the timing right. But yeah, they are constantly doing performances. And then when they come to her house with the Louise song, like the signs that are like, Louise, and then or maybe it's a different montage, excuse me, there's so many.
Try and keep it straight.
I know, she's like walking down the street and they're like, hey, pretty lady. And so they're like catcalling her to a culturally appropriated, horribly bad version of like a hip hop rap type song. And it's one of those things where you're just like, this is deliciously bad, but also can we not?
Yes.
Right? And here's the important thing though. Cultural appropriation is certainly about making money. And Rhett was not.
No, he
was not. And secondly, the movie didn't either.
It didn't, no.
I think it didn't make, it was $2.5 million according to Wikipedia to make, and they made maybe like 28,000.
Yikes.
But it's such a cult, like people love it though. It's still, you know, but yeah, it is one of the greatest bad scenes of a movie ever, but like the light in the scene is that in their tennis outfits that was different from the day before or even the morning of.
Or the leotard they have to wear to gym class.
Oh, God.
The high-rise leotard that, again, spoiler, 15 to 18-year-olds are wearing.
Yeah, that would have been a no for me.
That's a hard no.
I don't think there's any point in my life that I need any high-rise anything on a leotard or a swimsuit, so we can just check the box on that.
In the 80s, those hip bones had to breathe. They had to breathe. And they needed ample room.
And Polly was like, she was like, no. But they stumble, well, they're biking or they come across Rhett in the middle of a street with his two buddies culturally appropriating hip hop.
Which I'm sure the neighbors are thrilled. I'm sure they're like, yay! Those three youths are in the street again, rapping.
Youths. It reminds me of Schmidt. It's like, no. And she's like, she has a crush on Rhett. I don't know why. It's fine, whatever. I've had crushes on people that people are like, it's in the, subjective
he's kind of tall,
eye.
dark, and handsome. He's very lean, and he's showing a lot of shoulder when he decides, but bam, I'm going to show you that.
And some calf muscles, surprisingly, with his 3/4 length jeans that are scrunched up.
Yes, capris that are like tight rolled at the bottom, which again, you don't always get to see because the socks are pretty high. But, yeah, I mean, you definitely saw some shin. And so.
I mean, it was amazing.
Chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. And so as they come about, she's like, we should go this way and talk to him. And Polly's like, I can never. He's so cool and I'm not cool. And then she rubs her little magic necklace and then boom, Polly throws off her hat. And all of a sudden I'm like, she has skill. Still a little cultural appropriation. But she destroys him in this face-off of tap that, no, stop that, like going back and forth. She destroys it, like in a good way.
Yes.
Like I was like, you go, Polly. And then he's all like, oh my God, this is the moment I needed. I found the woman of my dreams. So,
who's 15?
So we can go dance on the corners and culturally appropriate at like the local mall.
Because even the other nerdy friends were like, check out this guy. And she's like, I don't know, I think it's kind of dreamy. Like,
and the other two guys don't do anything. They just do a lot of like, Run DMC moves with like the crossed arms. And I'm like,
Part of me is trying to decide if they should have just gone ham. Like they should have just gone all in. And there's that, and maybe there's some dancing. I would have loved some more dancing.
There was a lot of chasing or following her around montage scenes, or her playing with her hair and flipping it around, and like, look at all my denim and lace and tutus. And they could have like had a flash mob.
Yes.
And like, but they did have a choreographed dance at the end of the movie, which was not as stellar as many choreographed scenes I've seen in She's All That, Can't Buy Me Love.
30 people go to that school, Alysa. So
but they were doing like, I don't know, like, what do you call, like, waltzing or something? I don't know. As
soon as I figured out that, or I was told that in movies there isn't actually music playing when they're dancing, it made so much sense why everyone's on a different beat. Everyone's on a different rhythm. And you're like, is that group dancing to the same music that group's dancing to?
And I just don't understand through the magic of movies why they can't sync it up. Because I can't imagine.
Pipe it in and pipe it out.
Yeah, like, I've seen like some of the bloopers or like cutout scenes from 10 Things About You, like the party scene. Yes. And there's just like a lot of shuffling.
I was just going to say that.
And I'm like, where's the music? It's so jarring. It truly is. Yeah. So yeah, don't like that. Did not like the choreographed dance here. The classic and the one to live up to, of course, is Can't Buy Me Love with the African dance. Sorry, that movie is so good. But yeah, it's one of the best scenes in the movie, but is also the most cringeworthy one, and it's the one that is most
real uncomfortable.
And if you haven't seen it, be prepared for
a lot of secondhand embarrassment.
And also a lot of cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. And can we again, maybe a lighter side and back to clothing.
Yeah.
That bucket hat kind of just sat atop her hair.
On Polly's head,
Polly's head, because she had so much of it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, at that point, why are we wearing the hat?
Well, that's the other thing is, like, there was no purpose to wearing the hat except that she was going to become super confident and cool and she was going to chuck something. In which I was like, why don't she just, like, knock her bike over or something?
Yes,
like do something a little bit more like, ugh.
Yeah, or just go, doable.
Yeah, and, like, she's not wearing that hat playing tennis. It's not cold out. That is the only reason to wear that hat.
And then again, where were their coats? Like, this is happening in the span of a couple of weeks. Like, you can't tell me that suddenly we went from, like, wool coat in the summertime to be like, no, I'm fine. I'm all set.
But then, sometimes got to pull out the hat. So what's your next burning question,
Okay,
Sarah?
yeah, I'm crossing stuff off the list. And let's just go, where we're going to keep on this vein a little bit, because there was another kind of montage musical number that left me with some questions. And so it's when they're all in the gym locker room.
Oh.
And Kiki comes in and she is like, hey, everybody, I've got the new cheer. And she hits play, and it's a 3-minute song.
I like boys.
1, barf. But 2, like, that cheer's far too long, Kiki. You should know better than that.
There's no cheer moves.
And then somehow they're on the top of the lockers. How did you get up there? You're like dancing with no flip-flops on in the like shower area.
You're
and they're like, I like boys. And you're like, and athlete's foot. So... And again, they're just like in these outfits. And I was like, you didn't need to tell them, Kiki, because they all know it. They all know the cheer, the song. You're just showing off. And then there's Louise creeping on the sides. And I think I'd be a little like, why is that girl staring at us?
I'd also be like, why are they popular?
Yes.
Well, but also because don't forget, because they're in the locker rooms because of gym or PE or whatever they call it there, and they have those high cut leotards or swimsuits, and then they have perfectly tied around towels that will not move with any dance moves. No, like it's there forever.
Yes.
And I really in the 2021 rewatch of this movie was like, there was some lesbians in that locker room being like, no, we don't. But probably didn't maybe have the confidence or, or didn't, stand up, or like those people probably, they were skipping gym because it was bullshit or something. But it was like, I was like, this is very, very heteronormative and just uncomfortable.
Still, like, even if I like boys, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I like boys. I'm like, let's do a dance number. And
so if it's a cheer, so you're going to do this at halftime at a football game.
Right.
We like boys. Like,
yeah. All the fans are like, okay.
And like people in there that like girls are like, It's not like when we say go, you say fight.
Right.
I like
boys, and so again, it's like, that's not really engaging for the team. It more bothered me, 1, that it was on, again, this boombox, which really brought back some memories, but 2, 3 minutes long. 3 minutes long.
Do we forget a curious combination of songs?
That's right.
Jarrett really nailed.
He did.
Nail on the head.
Then I just kept looking and I was like, oh boy, no flip-flops. No. Oh, okay.
Or shoes, like, maybe even something just to... But here's the thing. When that song's on, I'm like, I like fun. It's a catchy little number. It is.
Yeah. I wish I could see however they got hoisted up onto the lockers. I did appreciate that their gym has the shower and then a little dressing area. And then I was like, the highfalutin schools have that.
Yeah, it's like, can I have a space to do something without everyone being here for it? But then it's like the popular girls run the locker room, and it's just like, and how it makes other people comfortable because you have to listen to their bullshit cheers. I was a cheerleader. We did some dance numbers, especially after the dance team got suspended for sexy dancing.
Uh-oh.
I want a sexy... No, it's good.
Alysa put a tape in the tape deck and things got scandalous.
No, I was a cheerleader, not on the dance team. So when they got suspended, we did like a step show and we did some other dancing and stuff like that. But it always had a cheer with it. Mm-hmm. But we definitely, like, the purpose of cheerleading is to... I had this shirt. There was a lot of these innuendos in the 80s, but I had a shirt that says, I scream loud to excite the crowd. And then I had cheerleading on it. And then it's like, there was one if you're a wrestler, football, like, but it had all these innuendos on it. And the cheer...
Innuendos?
What did I say?
Innuendos.
I don't even know.
Okay. I was like, is this something new?
We're going to need a fact check on the word here. I have no idea. But, the word I'm trying to use is...
Innuendo.
Thank
or
you.
A double entendre, maybe?
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, what Sarah said. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. Cheer loud to excite the crowd, even though it might be creepy, is accurate to what cheerleaders do. Like you're
Right.
cheering loud and the crowd is part of it and you're supporting the team, whatever team that might be, volleyball, football,
baseball,
basketball, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing about the team there. Like we did a
No.
lot of, you should have been a big red. When we say go, you say fight, defense. And then.
Or at least boys on the team. I mean, like boys that are players with like boys that make touchdowns. Like.
Yeah.
Just totally unrelated. I have lots of feelings about that.
Now I got that song in my head for the rest of my life. I'm going to have dreams about it and then, so thanks.
You're welcome. Shall we talk about the derelict building that she goes into?
That also has some sexy songs on it.
Yes, again, that saxophone really.
I mean,
that's the thread through it all. But again, her big patchwork denim coat, which again, why 3 times the size?
Yes.
Can we just wear clothes that fit? All right. But again, like if I was in that car, so we're going on an adventure
with
Brad, which I imagine we'll talk next about. Broken down
Tom Cruise
geriatric / generic 80s hunk. And so again, and then that somehow get lost from each other in this very derelict building, which I find unlikely. Because I'd be like, I'm not leaving your side because if you run off to go get a weapon, I'm dead.
Well, that's the thing is also like, why are we going out here?
Yeah, let's just like make out in your car.
There's a similar scene in Mystic Pizza with Julia Roberts and the generic love interest in that. But his family's rich, so it's one of their houses, but it's like closed down for the season. And so it's like not near where they're supposed to be. So it's like, she's older than that. Like I think she's college aged or older than that. But it's still like you just met him and like you're gonna go to a house with somebody.
Never go to a second location.
Never go to a second location.
No.
So not even for Brad Powell.
No.
The quarterback.
No. Who also is creative because he's in theater. But
they really had to balance him out.
But then he takes his shirt off and leaves it in the, again, derelict stairwell, where you can see all the lath and like there's just dust and like probably asbestos. And so, but then his like t-shirt underneath is like the low cut armpit because she's like, ooh. And,
like behind.
Stroking his like back
underneath the shirt.
Right. As they're smooching. And I just wonder where that ends. Like at what point you're like, well, I'm good. And I now have heaps of dust in my hair-sprayed hair.
Yeah.
And, he probably has a splinter. I just, because if there's a couch in that place, you better not be sitting on that, because yuck.
Well, that's the thing is, like, of all the there's so much nature.
Yes.
Unless there's mosquitoes, enjoy nature.
Well, if there's mosquitoes, they're in that house, because I don't know if you noticed, lights coming in through all the walls, that even if they don't have windows.
I mean, it's really, and the thing is, if the house is abandoned and it's in that nature, it's probably also haunted.
Yes. And,
like, I guess a witch could handle a haunted house, but it's still, like, you don't have all your powers yet, Missy. No. You don't know who you're dealing with. Have you seen Poltergeist? Shit's scary. Like, you don't know what you're dealing with.
And again, like, how'd you find this place, Brad? Like, is this where you go to think? Like, how did you find this? Were you just driving around in your, like, Corvette type car? Like, how did you find this place?
But also, let's go back to the fact that this is probably happening because it's Louise Miller's fantasy with Brad. And so, but additionally, although I still am trying to figure out where $2.5 million goes here. But
denim and hairspray, I told you.
Obviously. No, it's those jackets were probably like $500,000 a piece with all the fabric on it. But the idea is like that definitely, like, movie secret wise is probably that shit was cheap and it's gonna look very 80s. Again, everything looks like the set of a music video. And it's like her fantasy, which is terrible. But
that would not be my fantasy.
But that's the thing is, like, where might that come from for her? And then it might just be like, look, Louise, we don't have a lot of money because we spent it all on your tutus and your hairspray. So we're going to go to this building. Do you have all your shots?
Well, that place would have a totally different vibe if it was not sunny.
Yeah.
So imagine being in that place at night, or if it's like raining or storming.
Yeah.
Again, this is where I get murdered. Like, it just...
This is where you get taken over by the demons inside the house, because have you ever seen Evil Dead?
Yes, right?
Terrifying.
Okay, so right alongside the whole derelict house, we also have a whole host of creepers we need to talk about.
Well, we've already talked about Rhett, so
yes, check that off the list. But we have that teacher.
Oh, good God.
Who should not have their license, should not be in schools. Inappropriate.
Time to retire, sir.
Inappropriate.
Because as I said at the beginning, she's like in like his honors or in his English class, and she skipped a grade, so she's smart. So that's another reason why they think she's kind of a geeky, nerdy loser, right? And he's so mean to her, and he reads a letter or like a piece of her diary that her brother takes out and gets nasty chocolate on, because she stuffs it in her notebook and it gets stuck to her homework, and then he reads it out loud. If I was a teacher and I saw something stuck to a piece of paper, I'm like, what is this? And I probably put it aside. I wouldn't read it aloud. I was like, this looks like someone's private something, so.
Well, you're not an a-hole.
Yeah, I try not to be.
And can we also take a moment to reflect on what type of classroom is that? And is he on a stage?
He is.
Like, there's so many books. I think that's also the room where they teach sex ed and home economics. And I'm just like, do they just have the one room because there's only 30 students?
Yeah. Well, also, budget.
I mean, is this like a schoolhouse? Like...
Hannah Green Gables.
Right? I mean, they really spent their budget on, again, denim, hair, those hand-painted Louise Miller signs. And they couldn't possibly go to another room.
No.
Yeah.
But also, that reminds me of what a theater classroom would look like, potentially. Like, our classroom was attached to the stage in my high school. So when we had drama class, we would have classroom stuff, and then we could go around into the stage. So the stage kind of reminds me of something that could occur. Maybe, but yeah, so not only is he mean to her, but then also there's something else that happens. Oh, he knocks over her purse and birth control falls out, which also, girl, too much sultry saxophone.
I know.
But, I mean, again...
Full disclosure, I had to fast forward through that part because I was cringing with secondhand embarrassment.
It's like me trying to watch a Ben Stiller movie.
Ugh,
can't do it.
Can't do it.
But he basically... Like,
I think she had a hairdryer in there too, and I'm like, what?
The 80s, bro. You should get it going.
But even in that gym locker scene, they're like going in the shower, and none of them got their hair wet, but they're all still drying their hair.
Another plot hole. But I think like he's just mocking her and making fun of her, and why any teacher would do that in front of other students in middle school, high school, especially because it's like those K through 12 is formative years, and there's no reason to dislike ourselves or dislike school or dislike a subject or dislike men because of someone completely decimating and humiliating her in front of peers that are older than her too. Like he is condescending about the fact that she has skipped a grade, and then witchy Louise gets him back. Oh my God.
And creates, I'm guessing, a voodoo doll, which also some appropriation. And I'm like, boy, she just had the stuff to whip that up. All right.
Home ec class.
She learned a lot. And so, but yeah, and then no one seemed to notice that she's taking the clothes off the doll while the teacher's taking his clothes off. And then also, no one else in the room seemed to just be like, stop.
Yeah.
Please stop. Like,
or to get help.
Like, ha, 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 ha. And thank goodness there was that school administrator who just decided to pop in for no apparent reason.
And then was like, Mr. Weaver.
And then Mr. Weaver's like falling downstairs and going through the car wash. And
that's because the brother picks it up and kicks it around. And then the mother finds the doll with his nasty, grubby food fingers on it. And so she puts it in the wash. And like one of the things that does bother me about that, because it parallels something that happened at Michigan State, where there's a teacher during a class who had a breakdown and was starting to undress. So like it reminds me of that. And at that time we did have Twitter and things like that. People were going on social media instead of calling for help.
Right.
Like this is clearly like someone who's going through something, and why we would rather watch it, let other people know, make fun of it.
Right.
Like that teacher in the movie was beyond inappropriate even before that scene, and they don't realize that he's under Louise's control at that time, right?
Though if literally anyone looked to the left or the right, they would see this
but
doll.
There is also your teacher undressing in front of you, which is something that doesn't happen. And I don't think like, I mean, he would not have been back to work, but it was like, no. See you in 2 weeks, buddy.
Yeah, he's back. He's teaching. Like, he's there. And again, I was like, no, you'd be on like a sex offender registry. Like, you're done. You're Dunzo Washington, man. Yeah, like, so.
Well, it just also, it's like, a horrible scene, but it also just reminds me like all the kids are laughing, which it might be because of like age, maturity, not knowing what to do, but that we don't talk about mental health enough or burnout enough. And this was in 89, right? And so again, he's under control at this point, but also like Louise Miller. Like, there's got to be another way that you could use that voodoo doll without completely turning him into potentially a sex offender. Yeah. So, like, in terms of revenge, like, that might be worse than the sultry saxophone.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely it is.
And I wonder if, again, like, you left me feeling exposed. And now I'm going to make you feel exposed. And she did.
And it was public because everything he did was public as well. So,
but again, the cynical part of me is just like, look at all this white male privilege because he's doing all this stuff and he's back in the classroom.
Yeah, like how would he have not been fired forever? And I'm not one to say that someone should have to retire, but he certainly looked retirement age. And so that could have been a nice, we'll let you retire to save maybe a little bit of face.
Yeah, maybe.
Although he should have been probably fired for his treatment of Louise, and I assume other 6 hours of classes that he probably has for treatment of other people.
Yeah, he should just be done.
Yeah, he's done so.
He's done so Washington.
But those aren't the only creepy guys in the movie because we got the brother who's gross. We've already talked about it.
He just smells like you just know. And then he's got like a weird voice when he talks. And I'm like, I never had a younger brother, so I don't know. Either. But I was like, why are you making this giant pizza? Again, I just went out of it because I was like, who has this giant pizza tin? Where are you cooking?
That's like, where are you going to cook it? He's about to eat some raw pizza.
And like, how are you getting stuff everywhere in the kitchen? Like, I don't understand.
It's just like the creepiest, weirdest little brother that just doesn't make sense. And all you know is that he causes a lot of problems for her, like reading her diary and then getting chocolate all over it, tearing a page out, and then it gets stuck to her homework.
Eating cake under her bed. Why? Just take the diary to a different place.
Why do you have to do it when she's in the bed sleeping?
I know. Like, there's just a little, like, so.
And, like, they're concerned about, like, what she's wearing and stuff. Maybe they should be concerned about their son. And even the mom's like, oh, you did this thing to your sister's voodoo doll. I have to clean it. And it's like, maybe you should make him clean it.
Which Louise did an amazing sewing job because that withstood the washing machine. And that was the only thing in there, I think. So, I mean, that really got...
To clarify, Mr. Weaver, when his doll went in the washing machine, he went through a car wash.
He did.
How that, in addition to undressing in front of the class, doesn't get him to early retirement.
Right. Or just someone maybe like, hey, maybe we should check in on him.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't seem quite right.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's what made me so upset when I read about the case at Michigan State. I was just like, clearly someone needed help, and someone must have, because people came, like I think the police came and that sort of thing, but like, let's get it up on Twitter. And then the articles were about it, were quoting the students from Twitter. Oh. And I was like, this is gross all around. But I don't even know. Mr. Weaver is probably one of the creepiest guys in the movie, but there's at least one more. So tell us the question you have.
Yeah. Okay. So the cousin. The cousin, Randa's cousin, again, not Shayna like I thought, Randa's cousin. So again, clearly setting her up for embarrassment by inviting her. And Polly, ever the optimist that she's kind of finally made it into the in crowd, and it's like, Polly, no.
Randa does not like Louise. She's doing this as a prank and a joke.
So Jeepers Creepers has decided to get way sexual assaulty and like gropey, and she's not having it, and she's telling him no. And she was like, I just wish you'd go away. And he does.
Because she's a witch.
Because, spoiler, she's a teen witch. And then he's never talked about again until English study hour, whatever, when she's like drawn and she's like, I don't know, I just went away. Randa, questions, follow-up questions. Are you interested in knowing where your cousin went? Maybe your uncle or aunt have some questions that you'd like to answer.
Trying to get rid of him. But it does come up one more time, because when they're in that English class, Brad says, I want to apologize to you because I never should have left you with that guy. So like, that's the only thing. So I guess that might wrap it up, but not with a bow, right? No. Like that there's like some recognition that something happened and she was able to get away from him or something. But yeah, it definitely has that, like, it doesn't quite, same thing with the teacher. Like, he is stripping in front of the class under her control. So that was under her control. He's just abusive when he's not under her control. Right. The cousin has nothing to do with Louise's control and is just should not be around girls, women, or other people. Like, just completely inappropriate. But this 80s movie where when I was 11, I didn't understand that this is essentially could be a scene in something more dramatic or mystery, suspense, horror, whatever, that someone is being, attacked, right? And so, like, that is something that I didn't realize when I was watching it. But the fact that she's able in that moment to say, no, I wish you would just go away. And the fact that he does, how many times people...
Ticklish delight.
Yeah. How many times have people said, I just wish you'd go away? But they don't. They keep going. And like, he went away because she was a witch, and we don't have that power. And like, that's again going back to the very beginning. All our burning questions might come back to this idea is like, she has some ideas of how she wants to be in life, or the people she wants to be around, and she probably does want to get in with the in crowd, because that means she gets to go to this dance with Randa and Brad, so she gets to be closer to Brad. Maybe it is something, and it's a blind date, so you never know. But he's like a complete nerd, and he says when she comes out with her radical outfit, he's like, are you trying to embarrass me? And I was like, I'm sorry, even though her outfit is 80s ridiculous.
It's a lot to take in.
It's a lot to take in. Still better than the nonsense coming out of that guy's mouth and what he's wearing. And so, like, it's terrible, especially looking back as an adult, being like,
oh boy.
Oh gosh. Like, let's be like more, like, I wish I would have learned to say, like, let me say, like, I don't, pull over. This is where I get up. But I don't think he would have listened. So she had to just be like, that's when she started to realize that the magical powers really do work, right?
Right.
And but plot hole, let's never really discuss him again.
It's fine. I think a lot of people were excited to get rid of him.
Maybe she threw his glasses into the bathtub and he came back to normal life form like her brother does, because she turns him into a dog, and then she puts him in the bathtub,
so why
and it goes back as the brother.
But like, why just his glasses stayed? Like, why wouldn't all of
for
his
us
clothes?
To know that he?
I mean, yeah, but like,
but
let's
also,
do the physics
can
of
we
it.
Talk about the fact that I mean, I don't know the physics of it, but can we also talk about the fact that he was driving?
And she somehow stopped the car without her feet on the pedals?
Well, she is a witch.
A teen witch.
A teen witch. And I have to say, Sarah, one of the most delightful hour and 15 minutes I've ever spent talking about the greatest movie ever made. And I think that this is not an overstatement. This is probably the most detailed, question-filled, analysis. I'm so excited.
Yes.
And I clearly am not good with words. But such a deep dive on a movie that no one has ever been brave enough to do. Mm-hmm. But we went there.
Yeah. I actually have more questions. I just thought of more in this process. We're going to have to do a part 2.
Well, like I said, this is the 5-part series on Teen Witch.
Just pretend, everyone, like when we told you 10 questions, all the clothing ones are 1. And then creepers are their own.
Like 54 questions about clothing and then like 6 other questions.
But like, can I ask you one last question?
Yes,
like
absolutely.
Maybe, okay, because we're already like over an hour. So
yes, let's do it.
So when she
if people are still listening, they are in it.
Come along, take the journey with us.
They're like, please answer my questions.
So when she takes off the necklace at the end, which again, Shanna, not at all upset that Louise is now dancing with Brad. She's just wandered off, fucked off somewhere. I don't know. She's gone. So she ain't mad anymore. But so she tosses the thing to Madame Serena. And what? Does she not have magical powers anymore? Because it was kind of in her. The necklace just kind of made
helped
more
her
happen.
Or made us visually see that she was being witchy,
or maybe like she's just saying, you know what, for now I'm just gonna let it all kind of chips fall where they are, but I would, again, adult person would just not be getting rid of that necklace. Like,
well, also it's a cool necklace. I mean, in comparison to so many things that we've seen in the movie, but also like I think it's one of those things where she does have this moment with Madame Serena where it's like the way that Brad is into her is not exactly what she wants, or that popularity isn't what it's cut out to be. And it's like, it's one of those things where maybe the heart to heart and the fantasy we have in our head is not as great as the reality. And that, you know, I'm going to go to another movie, Can't Hardly Wait. It reminds me when he runs into the stripper angel played by, she was on Dharma and Greg. Jenna Elfman. Yes. She's like, you know, and he's into the Jennifer Love Hewitt character. And like the quote she says, what is it? Like, fate can only take you so far. Then it's up to you to make it happen. So in this case, magic can only take you so far, Louise Miller. You have to make it happen. And I think she has that realization that she doesn't need it as a crutch or as a way to force people to like her, and that she can do it on her own. But guess what? She gave that necklace back, but she didn't turn into stiff cotton Louise. She's still tutu Louise.
With Brad.
Yes.
So, you know, still there, still dancing.
Still making it happen.
Still making it happen. But I wonder, like, well, does she still have magic powers? Like, I would think so.
Yes, but she doesn't need to do spells specifically to get the things that she wants, is I guess, the moral of the story. But Sarah, when we do Alysa Watches TV, we do ratings, you know? A lot of times you do like 5 stars. But I like to take something from each movie and say like how many. So I don't know if it should be out of 5 tutus or out of 5 trench coats or...
Ooh, that is a tough call. How many pieces of denim would you rate this? That's a tough call. I think I would rate this movie 3 trench coats and 4 tutus. On this completely made up scale.
Yes. Well, I like that, but I also think about like, this movie's bad. So how bad is it on trench coats? Because trench coats are bad.
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Okay. But this movie is also so bad it's good, and tutus are good. So how many tutus do I give it? 5.
And if we were rating montages, 10.
Oh my God. I would add in lace denim skirts. I would
sultry
add
saxophone, derelict buildings. It's got it all. It's got it all.
I mean, at the very least, friends, if you like a montage, get in on Teen Witch, which I streamed on Amazon and Sarah watched from her own personal copy.
I had to go hunting for it. I got to be honest, everybody. I was looking. It was between two TV series cases. I almost had to like phone a friend because I was like, I don't know where this movie is.
Out of curiosity, what two TV series was it between?
It might have been between Happy Endings and Brooklyn Nine-Nine or Cougar Town. So
okay, I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at that, but yeah.
But I realized I have a real toxic trait, and I'm just going to do a confession at the end. So a real toxic trait of I don't put movies back in their actual box. So it becomes a real like scavenger hunt for the movie, and you have to work backwards because Golden Girls is in Cougar Town and Cougar Town's in Duff, and like you're just going. And
it's your own system. If it works,
it's a bad system. It doesn't.
It does not work for me. It's like, isn't there? I think there's a Friends episode. Like, why is this in the U2K? I'm making up whatever it is. Like, why is Fiona Apple in U2? Like, I don't know, Chandler. It's terrible.
It's a system that doesn't work for me either.
Yeah.
So I have a whole, like, you remember the old CD cases?
Yes.
Like, I have one that has all of my DVDs in it, and I found like half of my Lifetime movies in there. I had not put those back.
She has so many Lifetime movies on DVD that are just, we should do that one where they play the volleyball season is like 24 years instead of like 3 months.
If you want to hear Alysa rage, I mean, you wanted numerous times to have it brought up.
How is it still volleyball season? Mm-hmm. That was also the moment that Sarah realized that how many football players might be on a football team.
No, that was Duff, I think.
Oh, was it? It was like there was just so many.
Okay, because I saw Duff
on the wall.
Yes, I saw Duff, and she goes into this room with a guy, and they're playing football, and I was like, that is way too many helmets. And Alysa had to tell me.
That's like a third of the helmets.
And there was like 100, and I truly thought she was gaslighting me. I was like, this is a lie.
Maybe not in high school, but college for sure. The roster is going to be huge. That isn't always everyone dressing up on Saturday to play a game, but the rosters are. That is the largest.
10.
You need 11 to be on offense.
What makes you think I know that?
Flag on the play with your use of sports to let people think that you know about sports. Okay, we're going to have to take this off mic. But Sarah, here's the thing. Goddamn delight. And Sarah will be back because how many things have we talked about? St. Elmo's Fire.
Yes. Ghostbusters.
With the ladies. Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
That one is going to have to come in 2022, though. But the other ones... So Sarah and I might be doing some more Alysa Watches TV. Yeah. And if you thought this was absolutely the most fun and the most ridiculous thing that you've ever listened to, the deepest dive on Teen Witch, then come join me on Patreon, because then you can hear more Sarah too.
Yes. Or suggest some movies you might want us to watch. Or
we also need terrible descriptions of Teen Witch. We also need suggestions and what questions about Teen Witch do you have? Because I'm sure we've missed about 50.
Yeah. I mean, at least 50 about more clothes. I mean, at least. We didn't even get into the shoulder pads.
It was mentioned once. Not enough time.
Not enough time.
They are
huge. Huge.
Well, Sarah, you know what? Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Yay. Thanks for listening to Best Forevers. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and of course, share with a friend. Please be sure to follow Best Forevers on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Best Forevers Pod, and I'm at Dr. Alysa Lucas on Twitter. You can always find the podcast webpage for more information at bestforeverspod.com and share your stories of friendship by emailing me at bestforeverspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support the movement to love on our friends more, check out the podcast on patreon.com/bestforeverspod. Now, friends, check out this recommended podcast that you must get in your ear holes immediately.